Good morning, everyone. My name is Seema, Mody, and thank you for joining us today. Very excited to be here, especially with our wonderful group of women, female leaders, to talk about not just how to be a better leader in this world, but to talk about a new emerging technology, which is blockchain. It has captivated the attention of business news, which is the world that I work in. I'm a global markets reporter at CNBC Business News, but we're going to talk a bit more about this new space and also have our participants here discuss where the opportunities are within this new emerging technology. So Galia, if you don't mind just introducing yourself and where you work.
Hi, everyone. My name is Galia Benartzi. I am a co-founder of Bancor Protocol. Bancor is a cryptocurrency protocol to ensure liquidity between all of these new currencies. We'll get into a little bit more in this panel what blockchain is and what cryptocurrencies are. But for the introduction, we're trying to make all of these currencies inherently convertible to each other so that even small and lightly traded currencies can thrive.
Great. Thank you. Crystal?
Hi, I'm Crystal Rose. I'm the CEO of a company called Sensay based in Los Angeles. We're an AI-based messaging platform, and we are launching our own cryptocurrency to allow people globally to connect and transact called Sense.
Hi, my name is Heidi Messer. I am a technology entrepreneur and the co-founder of a company called LinkShare, which was sold, and now my current venture is a company called Collective I, which is short for Collective Intelligence. We operate a network and application for large enterprise sales teams using artificial intelligence.
Wonderful. Thank you for those introductions. Let's kick off the discussion by helping everyone understand how can blockchain impact our lives? That's a question that, as a reporter, I've been certainly trying to answer. And Crystal, if you don't mind, I'd love to start with you.
Sure. I think just as the internet impacted our lives by radically changing the way that we can connect and get information, blockchain is changing our lives by allowing more transparency, accessibility, and changing the way that we connect globally as well. The first institution that is being transformed is financial services, and I think next is going to become anything else that has a highly institutionalized current model, such as education. So the accessibility aspect is everyone will soon be able to get access into the services that previously they were unable to do.
Heidi, your thoughts?
So maybe I'll take a step back and just talk about what got me intrigued in blockchain, because if you think about how many of our institutions that we take for granted that become gatekeepers, and then those gatekeepers inhibit access to things like wealth and education and financial services. And the thing about blockchain that's separate, by the way, from currencies like Bitcoin, is that blockchain offers an infrastructure that's completely decentralized. So, going off of the internet analogy, if you think about how many people were enabled to be entrepreneurs because the internet gave them access to incredibly powerful technology that they had to formally be part of a corporation for, blockchain is the equivalent of that for every other resource. And so for me, I think that is so transformative and so exciting that everyone in this room should look into it and want to understand it.
Galia, do you think that 5 years from now we'll actually be using Bitcoin and blockchain on a daily basis? I have to say, I went on a challenge at CNBC where I tried to live on Bitcoin for a week. It was not possible. There's only 4 restaurants in the heart of New York City that actually accept Bitcoin, so I ended up frequenting the same places. But will that change soon?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, to zoom out a little bit and give some context, where we are in blockchain right now is similar to where we were in the internet in the early 90s. So if you were to ask me in the early 90s, is one particular website going to be the one that we use in 5 years or 10 years? With hindsight, I would say there's really no way to know. And even though Bitcoin is the one that we've most heard of right now and the one that has kind of the head start in terms of adoption, in the next 5 years and 10 years, we're going to see hundreds, thousands, and even hundreds of thousands of user-generated currencies. Will Bitcoin survive? Maybe, cryptocurrency, maybe not, but certainly the space in general, cryptocurrency and blockchain as a technology is here to stay. It's one of the fundamentals of the technology is that it's really hard to roll back because it doesn't exist in any one central place. It's actually a network of all of our computers together. And so to shut down a network that's operating on the blockchain, you actually need to shut down over half of it, which, as you can imagine, in a distributed network is very hard to do.
You know, Crystal, a lot of people will say the benefits of cryptocurrencies or blockchain is that it's unregulated. There's no central body governing it. Yet some people, the skeptics, will say, well, that's what allows bad people to also use it to get transactions done or to complete transactions, money laundering, if you will. What would your reaction be to that?
There are always going to be bad actors on a system, whether it's regulated or not. I think, as it is today, a lot of the media focuses on the negative actions that are happening within the system. To take a step back, we typically look at Bitcoin and blockchain as a synonymous word, and really Bitcoin is just the first application on top of the blockchain. So think of it as the first website or the first application on top of a network. The opportunities are really there for a lot of other things to come out and flourish. I think that any system that is decentralized inherently will have hackers and will have bad actors on top of it, but the benefits far outweigh the ability for any bad actions to happen.
How many people in the room own Bitcoin or plan to own it in the next 3 months? Wow. That's more than I thought, actually. Very interesting. Heidi, do you think that the true value will be, again, Bitcoin's the first application, is in this specific coin, or over time will there be others that will actually yield more value?
So, having lived through one internet bubble, I look at Bitcoin as being a very exciting application of blockchain, but I think that we are in somewhat of a bubble for this particular application. So the things that I'm focused on are the other applications that maybe are not getting as much publicity as it. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I think part of the thing that makes this space interesting is also the part of it that makes it challenging. Because the effect of it is inevitable, because it's so profound, doesn't necessarily mean that one application will capture all of that profoundness and that value.
Yeah. I like to think of Bitcoin as a store of value. So really there are very few other practical applications for it. It could be thought of as sort of the gold standard or the savings account, if you will. And that's the way that I like to think of it. I hold Bitcoin with the idea that it will increase. I'm not a day trader by any means, and that's something that a lot of people are seeing the cryptocurrencies as a value for. Now, if you want to look at a currency that's used on a daily basis, Kenya has a currency that is now more widely used. The national currency is a cryptocurrency. They have M-Pesa and they have BitPesa. Both are a transfer of value, and they're actually based on cell phone minutes. So the number one commodity, the top thing that is currently exchanged in Kenya today, is a cryptocurrency based on their most valuable resource, which are cell phone minutes. And if you think of that, really that shows you how to expand into what the other types of digital value can be. There's another currency called Ethereum, and that was the first one to create something that was a little bit more usable in terms of application. This was the beginning of something called smart contracts. And so we see the evolution of these currencies beyond just a value exchange, but rather something that can become an application to build on.
You know, Galia, if blockchain is the future, why haven't some of the largest, most powerful tech firms like Facebook, Google, and Apple fully embraced this technology?
I think a lot more work is happening behind the scenes than we're sort of ready to discuss, or maybe the companies are ready to discuss. Again, if you take a step back, I always like to ask people, what is money? Think for a moment with yourself, what is money? My answer to that is money is a tool for collaboration. Money is something that we invented to transfer energy between us, to transfer time, to transfer our skills, to transfer goods that we have or that we made. And this tool has kind of gone through a few different eras over history. So the first era of money, back in the day, money came from the earth, right? It was gold and it was oil or salt. It was things we could see and we could count, and we could all kind of say, okay, this is money. We know kind of how much of this there is or how hard this is to get from the earth. Then we moved into the second era of money, where money came from our governments, right? So our governments print the money for us. They tell us how much of it there is. They print more when needed. They decide who gets it first and how it gets rented to the people and how it moves through society. And now we're really entering this third era of money, which is the most exciting, which is that money can come from the people. Anyone can decide today what is money. Bitcoin is a user-generated money. A person or people created Bitcoin, perhaps not a government, and now we're seeing, like I said, tens, hundreds, and thousands of these user-generated currencies, and because of blockchain technology, we can decide now what is money, which means we can decide now what is valuable.
So clearly there's opportunity, there's potential in this space. Here's the burning question, relating back to why we're all here. What role can women play in the evolution of blockchain? Heidi?
So as we were talking, it occurred to me, having watched sort of the evolution of the internet and then now watching what's happening in blockchain, the innovation in blockchain is coming from sort of counterintuitive sources. So you would think it would be the Googles and the Facebooks, but in effect it's the governments, it's any institution that sees tremendous inefficiencies with the current system. And I think when I look at women, as a disenfranchised population, as a population that traditionally has not had the same or equal access to resources, to backing, has been subject to lots of biases of centralized institutions, blockchain offers the ability to start afresh and to create value based on pure value without the bias.
Yeah, I see the world as a world moving into humans in business to humans as business. And I think that it's really important for women, especially, to understand the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. Not only do we have the ability, but we have the responsibility to be an entrepreneur today. And the tools are now here to do it. Because of the internet, I was able to become an entrepreneur. When I was 11 years old, I taught myself how to code using an AOL chat room. I had a very friendly, anonymous person help me out. And that, and that was, but again, if you think about an anonymous chat room for an 11-year-old girl, you might be wondering, should my daughter be really using this? And a lot of us would look at the negative things. The bad actors are there, but the good ones are too. And so we're in a time in which, just like the internet gave us that access, blockchain is offering the ability to do other things. So last night we talked a little bit about the initiatives happening with women and microloans, and the blockchain is one of the things that really enables that as well. When you can move $1 for no fee across borders globally and get that dollar to some person, some woman who really can use it, and you can get $100, that $100 is massively impactful for her ability to start a business. And so we see the people who are in countries, the underbanked, as the ones that are going to be the first beneficiaries of this technology. We ourselves can build on top of it and build other companies. So just like Galia said, choosing how to exchange value, whatever that value is. The currency that we've created with Sensay is called Sense, and we choose to allow you to exchange your knowledge or your information for a value, for money.
When will that go live, that coin?
That's live on December 15th.
I want to add another thought about women, which is, if you think of some of the developing country models where, for example, a developing country has been able to leapfrog some old technologies, right? We see countries skipping over having landlines, for example, and going right to mobile. I think women have a similar opportunity in blockchain, which is, let's forget about pushing forward in making money, and let's push forward in remaking money. I think blockchain has a lot of promise for the future. When we look around and see what's broken in our world, I think we can trace a lot of it back to money, a lot of it back to the competition over money or the lack of money or the way that money is distributed in society, the way that money is blind to the needs of women or families or the earth or people in general. And I think women not only can but must step up to remake the money of the future.
So if there are individuals here who want to participate or work in this field, where do you see blockchain being most applicable to? Which sector? Is it energy, healthcare, the world of finance? Maybe Heidi, I'll start with you. We can work down.
I think The positive and the hard part is it's applicable to everything. So anywhere where you see a middleman that has created friction and costs in a process, that's where blockchain comes into play. I think the part that makes that challenging is you have to understand two things. You have to understand how this decentralized system actually operates, so that you don't fall prey to people who are speculating on it, on currencies or other things. And then pick an area that you think has the most friction and look for blockchain's application to it. So it is as vast a playing field as it was when the internet first launched, which is very, very exciting. It just means you have to really pick an area of focus and understand it deeply.
Yeah, I like the thought of looking at the things that are broken. So certainly it's difficult to be an entrepreneur. And it's, sometimes a thankless job and it's a lonely one. It's extremely difficult to be a female entrepreneur. I just came from a tour in Asia. Globally, it's still extremely challenging. When you're in Tokyo, when you're in Hong Kong, when you're in Singapore, being a female in power, being a female in any C-level role and trying to get a seat at the table with men is very difficult. That conversation is something that we'll continue to have. But being an entrepreneur in blockchain is yet another difficulty, and the reason for that is because the incumbents are not going to take this very lightly. We are looking at taking out the middleman, and traditionally the middleman is someone who makes a lot of money being an intermediary between two systems that should just be able to talk to each other. And so the first step, in finance is go peer-to-peer. Let one person directly transact with another person, be your own bank, own your own wealth, and don't let someone sit in the middle of that. So if you're finding a process that's broken, that's the first place to start. And I think education, healthcare, finance are the top ones that are currently being worked on, but certainly think about that challenge and don't give up. Don't let the incumbents step you down.
Two areas I'm really excited about are media and community currencies.
Tell me about media.
Yeah, so in media, as women, I look at the media all day long and it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart how women are portrayed in the media. It breaks my heart what we sell to women, and it breaks my heart how we sell women in the media in general. And I think that we can do so much better. We talk about fake news, we talk about advertising. We turn on the TV and it's rarely something I think that we're proud of as a society, and it's rarely something that we're excited about our daughters or our sons really spending too much time with. So media is an excellent place to look at decentralized systems, how we can bring content up from the people, and how we can collectively vote on what is valuable and bring great things to the top, because it's certainly out there. It's just kind of crushed by these centralized systems and the media business model. And then in community currencies, we've done pilots with communities all around the world. For example, with mothers, we dropped a currency called Hearts on a group of 20,000 mothers in Israel. And over a year, we saw these mothers do over 1 million transactions between them, only in Hearts. No shekels, no dollars. And those mothers were cycling toys and services, consultations, babysitting, every kind of good and service you can imagine that might relate to a mother's needs or family needs, without any national money in their pockets to spend. And the abundance that was potential between them, but that was restricted by the lack of liquidity, the lack of cash money in their pockets, was tremendous. So if you're part of a community, your neighborhood, a community of women, a community of athletes, a community of vegans, there's really no limit to the circles that you can draw around a group of people and say, we could collaborate just fine between us without any dollars or any euros. We need something to keep track between us of how much we're giving to each other and how much we're taking from the system, but we can do that now without a lot of help.
I like that community concept that you're building out here. Crystal, I'm just curious, given your time in Asia, would you say similar to tech, cryptocurrency, blockchain space is male dominated? And if so, what can we do to change that?
Absolutely. Really, though, if you look at all industries, if you're looking at executive level positions, even creative directors, there are 3% women. So it's a very ubiquitous thing. Technology, blockchain, crypto are very hand in hand. I think it will service us really well to start using other words. Cryptocurrency is a little bit scary, but I do see more and more women becoming more prevalent in different areas, and especially the West Coast. I'm from Los Angeles. I go to San Francisco quite a bit. The ratio is really more balanced than it has been in the past. But I think initiatives like this and conversations like this, continuing to build up with each other and build out these groups, are what are going to change those ratios for us.
Heidi, if individuals in the room, even myself, if there are areas that we can go to become a subject matter expert in blockchain, where would that be?
So, can I answer one other question
of
though
course.
before I say that? Because I was just thinking, as you were all talking about, regulation, getting more equal ratios of women participating in this highly valuable sector, and it occurred to me, we're all sitting in this room because of Wendy Diamond and her extraordinary vision, and women are the pillars of their community. And when you think about decentralized systems, they are unbelievably hard to regulate, if not impossible, and it requires actual true values, like a value system that is consented to by everybody who is part of the network. And I think it would be tragic if women weren't at the forefront of this particular revolution, because the tone that you set, the communities that you build, the ability to reinvent things, and have money at the base of it, reinventing money in the community you talked about in Israel, and the value system that women bring to that. I think if we forfeit this industry, it would just be a travesty. So I think we all have to take from Wendy Diamond's example, think about how we organize our communities, and then to answer your question about what resources to go to, I would look, if I were starting a company in this particular space, to the highest value portion of the food chain. I wouldn't shy away from the most complex industries that were likely to be disrupted. I'd be very conscious of timing, because I think there are certain industries like the financial services industries that are much more ripe for that disruption right now. And then I would literally read every single book I could find. I would talk to the women on this panel. I would find anyone who is going deep in this area and pick their brains, because there are so many smart minds going at it, and there will be a relatively small number of big winners, but you won't be able to figure that out without understanding the entire ecosystem.
Do your research. Yeah, clearly a complex yet intriguing field. We're coming to the end of our session. I would like all three of you to give one piece of advice to our audience when it comes to furthering their career or trying to advance their interests in this specific space. And Galia, maybe I'll start with you.
Mine is break things. Break things, because the things that are built around us don't serve us. They don't serve us as well as they could. Certainly there's a lot of great around, but there are a lot of problems in the system that we've inherited and that we've allowed to kind of take shape. So I come from Palo Alto originally in California, and Steve Jobs is sort of our local hero, and he said a sentence that I love, which is, everything you see around you was built by people no smarter than you. So look around and ask yourself, is this a financial system that we can get behind? Is this a money distribution that we can get behind? Is this an environmental system that we can get behind? Is this a media that we can get behind? Is this the relationship between men and women that we can get behind? And if your answer is no, then break it.
Crystal?
I think technology is one of these things that has no boundaries, no borders. It knows no age, it knows no gender, it knows no race. It only knows drive and ability. So to me, the future is one in which money no longer equals power, technology equals power. And we're seeing that with digital money. Essentially, everything is moving into technology. So remove your inhibitions and the limitations that you believe that you have because technology seems to be above you or ahead of you. We are creating that technology, and anyone can enter into it at any time. Certainly, we need innovators in every realm, every sector.
I like it. Heidi?
I would say three things. Feed your imagination, because we are in one of the greatest innovative spurts of all time. And so if you can imagine it, it's one of the rare times in history you can actually achieve it. Second thing I would say is banish fear. Fear is probably your worst personal enemy to stopping you from doing anything. And then the third thing I would say is build your network. Go to events like this, use the technology tools that are out there, and find the people that can connect the dots between your imagination, your ability, and the outcome.
I like it. And if I may add my piece of advice or saying, I guess I would say is never take no for an answer. I was told I would never get a TV job, found a way, hustled, and then even cryptocurrencies. I saw more of my friends investing in this space, doing really interesting work within blockchain, started pitching more ideas, and suddenly we just seen this surge in level of interest and also the amount of money that's being allocated into cryptocurrencies. So suddenly it's become an actual story, a trend, and an emerging asset. So persistence and not taking no for an answer. But thank you so much for your insight, Galia, Crystal, and Heidi, on blockchain and also the very interesting work that all three of you are doing in this space. Look forward to seeing your names in the news and the coins and tokens that